Hello everyone, welcome back to Nerds of Legend. Today we're talking about Spider-Man and Batman, specifically their rogue gallery, Sinister Syndicate versus Arkham inmates. As with me, as always, we have Joel.
Oh.
Ben.
Hi.
And today we have a special guest. Welcome, Victor. Victor, please shout yourself out.
Hi, inserting shameless self-promotion here. I am Victor from the Long Box. Well, yes, I was a part of the Long Boxes podcast as well as PEGWARMER podcast, which is my current one. And basically about me, I mostly talk about action figures, comic books, movies, TV shows, and any other media. We even cover video games as well. But I think that's enough about me for now. We have a interesting topic, and yeah.
Let's jump right into it then. Today we're talking about Arkham inmates versus Sinister Syndicate. So what we're going to do is, starting us off, we're gonna go to Joel and Ben. Joel, real fast, 60 seconds on the clock. I want you to tell me why your villain that you're representing is superior in every single way, starting right now.
Who's he facing first?
Your villain is the Joker, and you are facing Ben, who is representing Carnage.
First off, the Joker is, while Carnage has, like, a backstory, the Joker is an enigma. Like, nobody knows where he comes from. There's no true machinations on why he does it. Everybody gets from, he will, in one breath, destroy an entire town, and then in the same, stop and help somebody next to him. He does everything based off his own amusement. He's completely and utterly unpredictable, and his choices of weapons run from over the top, like just a pie to the face, to a nuclear warhead with a smiley face on it and everything in between. He is wildly unpredictable and has no problem bringing an acid-filled custard cream pie to a gunfight. He is absolutely brilliant and is known to go toe-to-toe with some of the best minds, including Batman, and will have absolutely no problem with killing his own people versus everyone around him, also all for the sake of good fun.
All right, very good. Ben, 60 seconds on the clock, starting right now.
So, while I understand how Joel considers the Joker to be an enigma, I'd like you to take into account that Carnage is just an alien, unknowable sort of life form that would just basically show up and just turn the Joker into a skin suit. Basically, he's harder, better, faster, stronger than Joker in every way, and would literally just skull fuck the shit out of the Joker, regardless of however random clown-based weaponry the Joker may have. That's my page.
So got 20 seconds.
Oh, I still got 20 seconds? I mean,
Yep.
From another standpoint, he's vampiric. He could basically just, take Joker's stuff into his ability. He's stronger. He's gone toe-to-toe with all kinds of enemies. He's basically a force of nature at this point.
Okay, excellent. So, we're going to start this off with 5 minutes of open debate between our two, starting right now.
Joel, why would Joker beat up Carnage?
Oh, what is Carnage's #1 weakness? Sound. Everything Joker has, is all loud, obnoxious noises. You don't think, once he finds out that he is completely incapacitated by a bang, he wouldn't be rapid firing his stupid, bullet-loaded, snap-bang gun all day long. The Joker would figure his weakness out in a second.
Yeah, but
and would immediately incapacitate him. Carnage would have to end it immediately.
Which he would.
In order for Joker. I don't know. Carnage is a little bit too much of a talker.
I mean, so is the Joker.
The Joker's a doer while he talks. How often do you see the Joker standing around monologuing when he's doing some ridiculous bit of some form of schizophrenic nonsense? He might talk, but he's in motion while doing it.
Yes, but
I feel that Carnage's window to attack the Joker would be incredibly small. Because it would take him 4 seconds to realize one skin ripple from a loud sound, and he'd be like, "Well, I win this one."
So he's not like
fire.
Venom.
Don't forget, it's also fire. Fire and sound are his things, and those are like the Joker's 2 favorite toys.
He's also, but he's not like Venom level vulnerable to sound. Like, yes, he does. Like, you'd have to make a pretty loud bang to do it. I mean, if we're just gonna go off of like movies, perhaps like Spider-Man had to put Venom inside of a giant clock tower bell to like make anything happen.
Right. That was to turn him into goo, but they also have the sonic weapons and everything else.
So yeah, he's vulnerable to that, but he'd just come back. And he's also sneakier than the Joker, so if Joker pissed him off enough to make him like shut down for a little bit, he'd just pop back up again.
Brian, question for the competition. Are we going 100% incapacitated, like permanently kill, or are we just doing like defeat in combat?
I think that's for you guys to decide. I think that, like, given the circumstances and our 2 combatants, I don't think either one has a problem actually killing, so...
Oh, no, absolutely
none whatsoever.
I would still say, I was going to say the Joker because he's just, when it comes to figuring out somebody's weakness, he will get you immediately. Carnage is a one-trick pony. He will hack, slash, and keep going until it's dead. But, I mean, that's kind of Joker's world. He breathes sort of like direct violence, and it's his favorite happy place to see somebody coming at him, stabbing and shooting. He's like, this is the best day ever.
So, like,
Joker's creative.
From another standpoint, are we talking like death battle rules where like they basically just bump into each other on the street and decide to like murder each other? Or are we talking like
Injustice, where they just fall in and like, you're going to die?
Or do they like presumably know each other already, so they're like, oh well, fuck, I'm just going, like, are they going to take this seriously from the get-go? Because I feel like Carnage is more likely to take a fight seriously from the get-go than Joker is.
Well, keep in mind that in terms of like
any motivation.
In terms of actual, like, comic, kind of, like, lore sort of thing, Batman and Spider-Man kind of share a universe. I mean, Batman and Spider-Man have interacted multiple times over the years, even when the universes weren't crossing over. There was, of course, the Amalgam comics back in the 90s, where DC and Marvel had... Sorry?
They're so great.
Yeah, where they had DC and Marvel, like... fighting against each other and eventually like starting to combine with each other, and then they split apart again, sort of thing. But even in terms of outside of the Amalgam comics, yeah, Spider-Man once applied for membership in the Justice League and got turned down by fucking Batman, by the way. So I mean, it's pretty well established at this point that like
from here
they do share a space. So I could foresee a thing where like their villains are also aware of each other.
So the other thing is, I mean, in reality, if these two did cross paths, their love of chaos, they'd probably leave together as buddies. They probably wouldn't kill each other anyway, but...
yeah, but in this case...
I think they would. Because they're both just, like, agents of chaos.
There's an existing storyline already that I found where the Joker does bond as Carnage. And it is like just chaos incarnate. So yes, I am going to change that from our discussion to say they would start fighting, attempt to kill each other, and be like, we're made for each other. And then
I can picture Joker. See, Carnage, you and me we're not so different. You and me are the same.
We both have smiles on our faces.
And then Carnage will leave Cletus Cassidy, and then they'll both tag team and kill Cletus Cassidy as they become one.
Joker.
And the poor serial killer is just left murdered by his own favorite weapon.
Joe Carnage.
Yes. So round 1 is going to go to Carnage and Joker being like,
we're shipping Carnage and Joker.
Yeah, we're shipping Carnage and Joker.
I'm putting that one down as a win in the Joker category because Carnage and Cletus Cassidy are the same person. They do refer to themselves as I instead of we. So
Carnage is also a symbiote. So I mean, like, Okay, yeah, the Joker would go because he would steal the symbiote.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
So I'm putting that down as a win for Joker.
Yeah,
We're moving on
1
to our
point for me.
We're moving on to our second battle. 60 seconds on the clock. Joel, I'm coming back to you. Tell me why the Penguin is superior over Kingpin. 60 seconds, go.
All right. I am going to have to do 2 rounds of this. Like the first, I am going to give myself a defeat on original Penguin. Original Penguin was just a Penguin-inspired gag criminal in the 60s, you know, like with the umbrellas and bright costume. The Kingpin would destroy him in a minute, but new incarnation of the Penguin where he's got this massive criminal syndicate and has amassed some kind of political power, along with his like, he's a brilliant strategist. I believe the Penguin himself would not be much of a threat to the Kingpin, but his organization would put a definite wrench in the works. As far as going directly killing, I don't know, but I could see them creating significant opportunity and occupying their empires for quite some time. Both of the Penguin would be able to operate both on the surface as a legitimate, wealthy businessman while running and controlling a majority of the drug trade, thus vast amounts of money in the underworld. So I would say maybe not kill, but definitely be a massive thorn in his side.
All right, excellent. And finally, we're coming over to Victor. Victor, please tell me why the Kingpin would absolutely crush Penguin.
Well, the same that Joel said for Penguin can also be said for Kingpin. Not only is he a successful businessman, he has also ran for a political position. I believe he ran for the mayor of New York. So his reach is pretty extensive. And he has legitimate businesses. I believe he runs a construction company. And more often than not, whenever Rhino comes around smashing stuff, smashing buildings, fighting with Spider-Man or Black Cat or Miles Morales even, Wilson Fisk is always there for damage control. And because he has such an extensive reach on the surface, that also makes him one of the major threats, not just for Spider-Man, but for the Avengers, for Daredevil, Moon Knight, and other street level heroes. Because Kingpin has an army at his disposal, and he also has, what was his name, Alistair Smythe on his side, who is possibly one of the best weapons builders aside from Tony Stark himself.
All right, excellent. We're going to jump right into the 5-minute open debate.
All right, who would want to start? Victor, you want to start?
Sure. Well, I mean, the way this is going down, if it's hand-to-hand combat, I would have to say Kingpin.
I would give it to you in a heartbeat.
Kingpin would squish him like a grape.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there would be very little competition physically.
Physically, but then also I do have to be mindful of Penguin's umbrellas. It depends on which umbrella. It's if they're meeting on the street and Penguin does know about him, Penguin possibly could snipe him out, but
provided he's equipped appropriately.
But if it's hand to hand, I would argue Kingpin. But realistically, coming from these two power hungry tycoons, I see this more of a gang war.
Yeah, agreed. I see this as a turf war thing, and the Penguin's number one thing is he runs a meeting place that is both frequented by police and gangsters, and he runs a legitimate nightclub to where he could control a lot of the flow of information, and that's one of his main traits. So I think like he would really double down on controlling the way information is communicated to keep the Kingpin guessing as to where he's going. But then on the other hand, he controls a massive part of Gotham City's drug trade. And so in this situation, I would think he would keep everybody either misinformed and well inebriated, or inform the correct people and withhold certain things from them. I believe that way. As far as it comes down, economically speaking, he's not as wealthy as the Kingpin, but he does have a lot more aristocratic friends. As it in by him, the nature of the establishment that he runs, he's able to rub a lot more elbows than the Kingpin does.
Keep in mind that the Kingpin, even while in prison, even in continuities where Kingpin is imprisoned, he continues to maintain his empire. Now, I don't know if Penguin does the same level, because most of the time Penguin's not behind bars.
But Penguin is able to run both levels of it. But I don't think Penguin's been really incarcerated that often.
No.
I mean, other than Adam West, where everybody has Arkham. Yeah.
Yeah, Wilson Fisk has been incarcerated, and like how Ben said, he is still in control of his empire. His influence is still there, but Kingpin is also a master of blackmailing. So any information that he would come across about any of Penguin's buildings, infrastructure, Kingpin would probably have a note of it or a folder of it. He always has a file of something on someone that he always plans on using to get ahead of him.
Right. I'm going to say on my point, I'm not going to say that there would be a definitive winner. I think this would become a long, drawn-out turf war between the two of them. I think they could easily crush all their other oppositions and be the only side standing, but I don't really foresee one giving ground to the other.
So if you're saying from that point, then if
I do not ever see them, unlike with Joker and Carnage, I never see them being like, you and I together, because they don't really play well with anybody.
From that point, then, if their enterprises would be fought to a standstill, then we have to resort to how they would do if they actually faced each other, which would put Kingpin in the lead.
I mean, if that's what we did.
Let me ask you this then, okay? To kind of settle the tiebreaker, if you will, I'm going to ask which one of the two would be able to amass the bigger arsenal. Keep in mind that Penguin, in terms of continuity, is a legit arms dealer who has, in fact, procured weapons for Birds of Prey, Gotham Knights, and of course,
I would say the Penguin could get that. Not to mention he's got henchmen that are legitimate arms manufacturers. Like, they make weapons, including some unique weapons, and he makes his own weaponry. So I would say that the Penguin would probably be able to. Not that the Kingpin's not able to. The Penguin would be able to do it in a much faster pace.
I don't know, because Kingpin does have Alistair Smythe on his side, and Alistair Smythe is responsible for creating the army of Spider Slayers. So you have Penguin's unique guns and arsenals, but then you look over at Kingpin's side, and there's giant robots specifically created to capture Spider-Man.
But are we talking just volume of guns, or just... I'm going to stick with my original and say that it would become a two-sided turf war. And say that
we actually have to agree. I think we have to call this one a draw.
Yeah, I think I would have to say they would go toe-to-toe and stay there.
All right. Joel, coming back to you, tell me why Two-Face, 60 seconds on the clock, is better than Green Goblin.
Two-Face is better because the Green Goblin has lost his mind completely. Like, he's still a strategist, but there's still a little bit of Harvey Dent left in Two-Face. He is like a brilliant legal mind, and the only downside with him is his crippling grip of duality. This is an interesting matchup. I'm trying to think why he would be better. I believe that it would literally be to the luck of the draw. Would he be better? Does he have the capability? Absolutely. He's got the absolute capability, the mental prowess. He's got the physical prowess. He's got marksmanship that he has learned and trained extensively at. But if the coin flips the wrong way, he'll just walk away. So This is a duel. This is a competition. 100% left to chance.
Yeah. Okay. Ben, coming over to you. Tell me why Green Goblin would offer Two-Face a sadistic choice. I can't hear you at all.
Sorry. From my perspective, Two-Face is a man with a coin and a gun. And then depending on how that coin flips, then he uses the gun or not. Whereas Green Goblin, I mean, just based off of power sets alone, Green Goblin is just going to, like, wipe the floor with Two-Face. There's, like, no question. Like, even if Two-Face decides to shoot him, Green Goblin's, like, armored up and shit, and probably has the endurance to, like, heal through a bullet wound. Like, he's got a level of healing. He's got reflexes, stamina, endurance, and he's smart. He may be maniacal, but I would hazard to guess that Green Goblin is smarter than Two-Face.
I would disagree that he's not smarter than Two-Face. He's just...
Ben, still got 10 seconds on your clock for...
I mean, like, just from, like, level of kit alone, like, what does Two-Face have that he would be able to beat Green Goblin with? Just from, like, a kit and power standpoint.
Okay, well, we're going to go into the 5-minute open debate.
Victor had a point.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to jump to. Victor, I did see your finger up. Go ahead and you start us off.
For Green Goblin, which Green Goblin are we talking about? Are we talking the actual costume Green Goblin, or the armored version of William Dafoe, or the muscular flying giant from the Ultimate Comics?
Or are we talking about Norman Osborn, or are we talking Harry Osborn? You know,
I would say we're talking Norman Osborn, but I mean, in the current
Norman Osborn, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., sort of a Norman Osborn, or are we talking like
is he Green Goblin when he's director of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I mean, he was still very much the Green Goblin when he was director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay,
yes.
I'm not as familiar with
that was during the Civil War era.
Okay,
the first Civil War, I should say. When he was also director of the Thunderbolts.
Yeah, I would say we're talking maybe not like super juiced Green Goblin, but like he's got the Goblin formula, so he's got the super strength and the speed and endurance and all that. Maybe not like super juiced up Green Goblin. I mean, even if we're talking like Norman Osborn, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. Green Goblin, then I would say that he's even better connected to just wipe the floor with Two-Face.
Yeah, I'm honestly going to sit and say, unless he had time to prepare, if they just met up and were like, let's fight.
Yeah.
Problematic for Two-Face. But,
that's the thing. It's like, what is I mean, from my understanding, Two-Face just is chaotic.
No, his is his intelligence. Like, if he and the coin allowed him to, he would be able to come up with a plan that would be ideally suited to take down the Green Goblin. That is how he works. He's a planner. He's a person who rivals in his machinations. He's not get up and go punch. He could go hand to hand, absolutely, but hand to hand he would absolutely get destroyed by the Green Goblin, who is much stronger. But
just one pumpkin bomb. Come on.
but given time to prepare and the coin toss in the right direction, yeah, he could definitely come up with a scenario that would keep the Green Goblin on his toes.
I disagree. I think Norman Osborn's smart enough that he'd be able to like weasel his way out of any trap. They're at least on equal intelligence footing. No, we're not solving it with a coin flip. I don't think, because it's not like Green Goblin's gonna start. It's not like Green Goblin's gonna just insta death just from a coin flip.
No, it's whether or not Harvey Dent puts his all into it or not.
Okay, yeah, I don't think that gets rid of his.
It does.
I disagree.
The biggest problem of Two-Face. Two-Face.
What does Harvey Dent have that would be able to beat Green Goblin? You just say, oh, he can plan. You're not giving me anything other than he can plan his way out of it. But Green Goblin's chaotic enough. I don't think he could come up with a plan that would beat that Two-Face would be able to beat him with.
the amount of time frame we have right now, you would need to present a scenario and we would have to create a situation. I'm saying if given enough time, Harvey Dent could come up with something to go against the Green Goblin. If it was showing up and just saying, we're going to fight, absolutely not. Harvey Dent has nothing that would go against the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin would absolutely destroy him. But given enough time to plan, and that the coin allowed him to, Harvey Dent could come up with something that would keep the Green Goblin on his toes. Hand-to-hand? Absolutely not. But there's no denying that Two-Face is not a hand-to-hand person. He never has been. He's been a person of where he slowly will plan and have these machinations on what he's going to do. He's not a brawler character. So just sheer hand-to-hand, he would lose. Even with his, even with the handguns that he keeps with him in his weapon arsenal, he would still lose. Just straight face-to-face, Two-Face versus the Green Goblin every time. But if given enough time, I think Harvey Dent could hold his own.
Okay,
so
well...
that's my argument. Now, if we're going with just hand-to-hand, no.
Well, let me switch this up a little bit here, because we're getting kind of stuck in the whole hand-to-hand, not hand-to-hand sort of thing.
I think they need to be, because a lot of these characters that I have are not hand-to-hand people.
Right.
That's why it makes Batman's villains so different, because a lot of them are more long, drawn-out plans, as opposed to Spider-Man's are a lot of we're just going to swing in, break through a wall, Spider-Man sticks them to something, and then they all swing off on their merry way.
Okay, well, let me rephrase this then a little bit. If we're going to look at Two-Face versus Green Goblin, who does a better job of capturing the aesthetic of insanity?
Green Goblin.
Green Goblin, hands down. See,
okay.
Two-Face's problem is the duality. Two-Face is literally, he has left his to 50-50 chance. He's brought everything to that black and white. And in one of the storylines, he was put into Arkham Asylum, and his therapist gave him 78 card tarot deck in order for him to be able to use to make a decision, hoping to get him away from the coin. And instead, it paralyzed him with having to set the deck up before he would be able to do anything, to the point he could almost not make a decision. He has to do it. And his is not so much insanity as it is wild obsessive compulsive.
Yeah.
Like a wild OCD. And Green Goblin is like, I'm flying around, I'm going to get ice cream, and then blow that building up, because that goes well with Rocky Road. And it, as well as, I think as far as embodying insanity, Green Goblin all day.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for God's sakes, he's like, I'm going to wear leggings and throw pumpkin bombs. None of those things go together, but he's like, this is fucking perfect. And I'm going to go on a flying sled that looks like a bird with a bat face and
it's actually
pumpkin missiles.
It's a bat.
And
I couldn't tell if you were arguing for Two-Face just with that monologue alone.
Yeah.
no, Two-Face is not the, he said, better personification of insanity. No, Green Goblin wins that one hands down.
Okay. I'm actually going to give this one to Green Goblin then. Yes. We're going to move on to our next bout. We're actually going to skip over that one for the moment.
No, we could do others, because it gives me time to think if you're going to...
Okay, yeah, sure.
Somebody else, because I want to hear other arguments too, not just myself.
All right. In that case, Victor, we're going to come to you. Tell us why the Riddler is better than Doc Ock. You've got 60 seconds on the clock, starting right now.
Well, Riddler is one of those characters that is drawn out, that while he doesn't have any superpowers, or he does have a lot of hired help, I don't know how he has the time or resources to build this. I don't know if they ever explored his immense wealth. He always looks like a normal, malnourished guy, but somehow he leaves the riddles all over Gotham for people to solve. He kidnaps people for Batman to be held hostage, and he probably is one of the greatest minds in all of Gotham.
I just want to point out Seth Gorkowski liked our post on
That's
Ashes
awesome.
of Onyx.
That's awesome.
All right.
Yeah.
I wonder if he listened to it.
I don't know.
You've got
But they put Ashes 2,
Since-
I'm probably
since-
gonna like these idiots.
Since half of us didn't finish reading it.
All right, well, we're going to jump over to Ben for the moment. You've got 60 seconds on the clock. Tell us why Doc Ock would be better than the Riddler, starting right now.
I mean, I just think, like, from his pure, like, power standpoint, like, Doc Ock's just gonna beat the shit out of Riddler again. Like, he's smart enough to figure out Riddler's riddles, and he's just gonna, like, he's gonna tear him literal, like, he's gonna take his 4 octopus arms and go and rip him limb from limb. Like, I know that we're, from a lot of scenarios, we're talking about the long game with Batman villains, but I think Doc Ock's smart enough to beat any Riddler riddles and just, like, destroy him. So that's my stance.
Okay, we're going to switch over to the 5-minute open debate, starting right now.
What do you got, Victor?
Riddle me this.
Go.
What short has 8 limbs and thinks they live under the sea?
An octopus. So what?
So, yes, Doc Ock is smart enough to answer any riddle, but seeing how Riddler has in a condition to be acknowledged, which he will constantly give Doc Ock riddle for riddle, going through various mazes and setting traps that I don't know if Doc Ock can be prepared for. Riddler is smart, and taking one look at Doc, he can tell that those mechanical arms could be short circuited somehow, and Riddler would set a trap, or he already has a trap set. Who knows what kind of traps he has planned all over Gotham.
I mean, there's also the point where, at a certain point, he has an adamantium harness. So, like, his arms are virtually indestructible. And like you said, he's strong enough to defeat any riddle. So, like, I don't think that there's necessarily a thing where Doc Ock would probably just get annoyed with Riddler at some point, smash away all of his escape room nonsense, and just beat him to a pulp.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a very big. We're noticing a very big flaw with these pairings, and that is Spider-Man's villains tend to just go straight and kick the shit out of everybody. While Batman's are like, I have this plan. You must come to my room, and they're like, what if I shoot you?
How about instead, I beat the shit out of you until you give me what I want.
Hold on, I
Let me
have
put
this
it this
plan
way,
where I'm
then.
gonna fill 9,000 balloons with laughing gas, and they're like, what if I kick you in your balls? They're like, I guess I haven't planned for that. You're supposed to wait for the balloons. I don't want to wait for the balloons.
And from
I
a
feel
certain...
like there's a level of patience in Batman that just isn't there with Spider-Man.
I mean, at a certain point, I feel like Batman tends to play by his villains' rules a lot of times, whereas Spider-Man will, a lot of times, is just about finding his way around them and just foiling their plans.
Before they punch them, yeah.
Yeah.
The thing
Punching
about,
first.
The thing about Batman and Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is that each individual Rogues Gallery is tailor-made for the hero. In the sense that, like, you look at a lot of Spider-Man's villains, they've all got a sciencey bend to them because Peter Parker is a scientist, but he rarely actually uses his sciencey kind of like technical know-how to actually work out problems. It's a very rare for him to actually do that.
Correct.
So,
but Batman is the detective incarnate. Like, that is his go-to always, and fists are his last option.
Yeah,
while foiling
you look at Batman, I mean, he's got no problem punching a street thug, but more often than not, Batman is a problem solver. He is, in fact, the kind of guy who, you know, you're not necessarily going to draw out into just a straight-out fight. You're going to have to, like, bait him because, you know, first and foremost, the Bat could be anywhere. So, I mean, you don't actually know, like, you know, if Batman's just going to show up to some, you know, doofus waving a gun around. Like, if Two-Face just goes out into, like, the open Gotham market, you know, that's a good way to get yourself fucking like, you know, just a batarang in the face. You've got to plan it out. You've got to draw out the bat.
Whereas a lot of times, like, Spider-Man's villains know Spidey's going to show up at any time because they know that for some reason that whenever they grab that redheaded chick, he shows up.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't just have to be. It doesn't just have to be a redheaded chick. Like, the thing. No. The thing
Or the
about
old lady.
Spidey is that because he's so. Spidey's efficient.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you guys were talking about that in the last episode that Spider-Man will stop the Green Goblin but also stop the Mugger, and that's why Spidey doesn't play along with this. He just wants to be in and out quick, catch them as quickly as possible so he can go stop the Mugger.
Yeah. He wants to fuck shit up before the cops show up, beyond the next crime.
Versus Batman, where Batman can look at a Mugger and just be like, "I'll let the cops handle this one. Joker's over there."
Yeah. But
Let me rephrase this a little bit then, because I think, again, we're getting kind of hung up on the direct, like, punch-ups sort of thing, and that's not necessarily always what I mean.
Every response Ben has is like...
He's going to kick the shit out of him. Come on. He's just a guy in a question mark, Kane. What does he have that's going to beat Doc Ock?
In that case, we're going to go Riddler versus Doc Ock. Who has the better tech arsenal?
Doc Ock.
Yeah. Yeah. I would Doc Ock does do these stuff. Riddler
Just quit. Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the way Riddler constructs his traps, you can tell that they're poorly made, but they work just well enough. Like they're hanging by thread. Doc Ock is a brilliant scientist.
I mean, he runs an Iron Man's. He's smart enough to like tinker with Iron Man suits. Like, he's got the better arsenal from that standpoint.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and give this one to Doc Ock. And we're gonna move right along down the line. Joel, 60 seconds on the clock. I want you to tell me why Catwoman is superior to Black Cat, starting right now.
It's the same picture.
Okay. I think it comes down to they're both incredibly skilled. They're both very capable, and they're both very athletic, and they both have a similar skill set. But where Selina Kyle goes is Selina Kyle has made it her mission to focus only on very, very specific targets. I mean, yeah, she's a high-end jewel thief, but she's also been known to insinuate herself into like the higher ends of society. So she gives her a fair amount of, as Selina Kyle, political appeal, as opposed to just, I can't even remember what Black Cat's name is, but she doesn't. She's more
Felicia Hardy.
Felicia Hardy, yeah, she's more of like an every person. Well, Selina Kyle can be seen in like the highest forms of society there, so she can do political power too. But Selina Kyle is known to, she has a moral compass. Now, I know absolutely nothing of Black Cat other than
All right. Well, then going over to Victor. Tell us a little bit about why Black Cat would beat Catwoman, starting 60 seconds right now.
While yes, both are exceptionally skilled gymnasts, I believe that Black Cat has the edge due to the fact that she has a portion of Super Soldier Serum inside of her, giving her near superhuman strength. I wouldn't put it as like Captain Carter or Captain America or even Winter Soldier. I wouldn't put her in that class, but while she may not be politically have a political appearance or be appearing in like these private parties, she's more of a shadow, and I think Black Cat would have an easier time getting the upper hand on Selina Kyle due to the fact that nobody really knows who Black Cat is. He's in and out, he's efficient, and she's the only one that's able to counter Spider-Man's Spidey sense.
All right, excellent. We're going into 5-minute open debate. Joel and Victor, tell me why your particular, I guess, super anti-heroine is better, or tell me, if you will, which one is actually going to lock down that guy.
Oh,
Ooh.
I mean, which both of these ladies do occasionally use, their
feminine wiles.
Kind of like, yeah.
Okay, I would like to point out that there is an actual episode and an issue where Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne do in fact get married. And then at the same time, there's also one where she let him go, saying that she can't, that he has to be single forever. I believe. So the thing is, is Felicia Hardy going to be able to get Spider-Man, or is Black Cat going to be able to get Bruce Wayne? Is that the question, or are they going to go straight? Because I'll answer both. Screw it.
I mean, because we could go with a standard cat fight.
Well, that's a standard cat fight. Because I am going to actually say Selena Kyle would be able to hold her own, but because just learning this about Black Cat, that she has a super soldier serum, I believe someone's scratches are going to be a little bit deeper, and it might go to Black Cat. Selena Kyle, though, I think it comes down to being able to get Batman. She has on numerous occasions, including becoming, I believe, impregnated with the Huntress, who is now Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle's daughter. I think that's a solid win, that she not only got the guy, but created a offspring who is now out fighting crime and causing crime at the same time. I'm gonna put that down as a solid win. Was
Huntress not part of Earth 2 canon, though?
Hey, we are not going to specific canons here. We're going to the bearers of these names, damn it. Because
my apologies.
We could go for days on this. Because then I'll just say, who cares? Because Green Lantern Batman cleaned Earth of crime in 14 minutes. So, no, we're not gonna,
Okay, my apologies.
No, we're sticking to just general oversight here. If you are the moderator, so you get to decide. But I feel hand to hand, she can't hold her own. As far as like the art of seduction, I mean, it started with Eartha Kitt back in the '60s. She was getting rods straight in the '60s. So I mean, I don't know what Black Cat was doing. But,
well, I mean, keep in mind that even in the '60s, she wasn't the first Catwoman. There was
she wasn't.
Catwoman to her. Yeah.
But she wasn't. But she was definitely the start of Catwoman being a sex symbol. Because I saw the pictures of the first one, and I don't know who's going to look at it and go, that's what's up. Because that was just weird artwork.
I mean, it's just Eartha Kitt at that point.
Yeah, right?
Well,
all right, I'm yielding my time to Victor now.
Well, Black Cat certainly, while she can probably seduce, it's not really her style, because she was born and raised into like a thief family. Her father was a real famous burglar as well. But though she has been romantically intimate with Spider-Man, it's never really lasted due to the fact that she's always a thief. So if we're talking who's gonna tie down who, Catwoman has that one in the bag, because it is official that she did marry Batman and they did divorce, while Selena Kyle has only dated Spider-Man. The only argument I really have for that is that she is the only one, to my knowledge, that can distract Spider-Man long enough so that his spider sense doesn't go off. And the way that she did it was by proposing to him. She got down on one knee, asked Spidey to marry him, and then she scratched his leg, and Spidey was left on the floor. He was like, ow, my leg, my feelings.
It's like, look at these. Done. Who'd have thought boobies rocked right through my spider sense?
I'm giving this one to Black Cat. Cat's out of the bag.
Because of her ability to distract Spider-Man?
Well, that, and just the fact that, like, yeah, we did, kind of concede that, like, Black Cat would be superior to Catwoman in terms of like a straight up, you know, cat fight.
Yeah. See, this is where I think we're noticing the pattern in the Marvel versus the DC is like they're much more nuanced. DC is much more nuanced characters. Like there's a lot more to why they do what they do. And Marvel is kind of like come out there, punch you in the face, be like, "Ha-ha, I win," and then run off.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I've always had a big issue with Marvel villains in the sense that, like, when you look at DC villains, they're all very, like, noticeable. They're all very, like, you know, like, I mean, you look at Sinestro, you know what I'm saying? And it's like everybody knows Sinestro. It's like fucking Sinestro, of course. It's like, you know, they're all very big name. They're, well, maybe not all big name, but, like, they're all very, like, easily recognizable. They're all very unique in the way that they kind of, like, map onto their individual heroes sort of thing, but they also have like very unique aesthetics that come with them sort of thing.
Well,
I'm sorry, what I was going to say was when it comes to like Marvel villains and whatnot, it seems like they have a much limited pool of like villains that they're actually pulling from sort of thing. And beyond that, they also have a problem when it comes to actual like putting their villains out there and having them be recognized in a mainstream sort of sense. I mean, if I want to talk about like Mr. McSpicklick, you guys know exactly who I'm talking about.
Yeah,
you know,
awesome.
Little fifth dimensional imp fucks with Superman all the time.
Which also I want to point out in Mr. Mxyzptlk or however the hell.
No idea who that is.
Well,
right.
I mean, you'll have more of an idea as to like who Mr. McSpicklick is versus, say, the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, but like, if we want to, it's funny you bring up Mr. Mxyzptlk or whatever the fuck his name, however you say it. But it's like he comes in and he's got like unlimited power, and there's one where he actually gives Joker godlike powers. And Joker kills everyone except Batman that he uses as a puppet. Because the one thing about the Joker is he'll kill anybody but Batman. He'll stab Harley Quinn in her face. Except because he needs Batman, because Batman makes him like gets him going. For some reason, Batman being like, "I'm gonna catch you, Joker," is like the only thing that keeps his juices flowing. Like, yeah, it was just funny you brought that up because Mr. McSpicklick like throws in unique wrenches and all this stuff. Like, what about the time he made Spider-Man a baby?
Basically, anyone from the fifth dimension is absolute chaos. Whether we're talking Mr. McSpicklick or Batmite.
Batmite, who just that guy's
fucking
awesome.
Batmite. All right, anyway.
I love
We're jumping over.
So for you, Ben, to just understand, the fifth dimension in DC Comics is where this race of like everybody's got near godlike powers. And so they come into the third dimension every so often just to fuck with stuff. Marvel's got a version of it.
So they're basically like Q.
Impossible Man. Kind of, if Q had a sense of humor. So,
I argue that Q does have a sense of humor.
Not like these guys. These guys are like the time where the Impossible Man for Marvel. And they do they jump comics too, or do they not?
I mean, technically speaking, both DC and Marvel have their own because the multiverse for DC, I believe, which world is it that's Marvel's world? It's, I want to say 5-1 something. I don't remember exactly which one it is. But like, there's one of the DC worlds which literally is the Marvel multiverse. Yeah. Whereas like with Marvel, the main Marvel universe in the comics is of course 616. But they have different universes, and one of them is where the DC universe is. Or rather, I believe for them, it's not so much the DC universe as much as it is the Squadron Supreme part of the universe, which is basically Marvel's take on, hey, we want to use like DC characters without actually kind of using DC characters. So they kind of like, you know, did a roundabout way of doing it.
This is off topic, but did I show you guys my new Romulan Warbird tattoo?
We're gonna jump to that in a minute. First, I want to get because you know I do believe Joel has
it's a Romulan Warbird because it's cloaked.
You're an idiot.
Joel, since you got to get going really quick here, because 5 o'clock. Yeah, 5 o'clock is rolling around. What I want you to do is, you have, I believe, 7 of your villains left. I want you to pick. We'll say the top 2. And I'm going to go with that.
Hold on. I gotta see which ones
You've got Mr. Freeze. You've got Bane.
I don't.
You've got Clayface.
No,
You've
not
got
Clayface.
Man-Bat.
Clayface. I'm looking at that. I want Bane.
Right.
I want to do Bane, and then if I have enough time after that, I want to do Harley Quinn.
Okay, jumping over to Bane. We've got Joel representing Bane. Tell us why Bane is gonna kick the shit out of Venom. We've got 60 seconds on the clock right now.
I'm gonna go with the thing that Bane is brilliant. He's considered first off, physically just unpowered, like without the use of Venom, is considered physically stronger than Batman. He is big, he is trained, he is a fighter. But then on top of that, he's considered a brilliant strategist and biochemist. So much like the Joker would identify the sound as Carnage, Bane would do the same thing. Except while Venom is like writhing around in agony, Bane would then use his Venom serum and juice himself up to ungodly levels and then beat the shit out of Venom. While Venom's the symbiote is like squalling around, he would pound Eddie Brock into dirt and then probably look at Venom and be like, "We're made for each other."
All right.
I feel like all of my guys would just realize the symbiotes are just an easier path to whatever they're trying to do. He's like, "I'm addicted to this shit. You are that shit. Let's just dance." But
well, I mean,
in a
Venom is Venom, so I mean, yeah.
Right. A rare turn from Batman's slower planning, scheming villains. Bane would hit that button and then punch the fuck out of whatever he's standing in front of. So I think once he figures out what makes Venom squirm, he's gonna beat the shit out of him.
But how would he? I mean, I don't know how he would figure out so easily what makes Venom squirm. Like,
well, to that point, I want you to give us 60 seconds on the clock and tell us why Venom is better than Bane.
Venom is
right now.
Again, I keep going back to this, but like just from like a pure physical standpoint, and this is the first one that it's like, okay, maybe they could go toe to toe, but for a certain point, Bane's just a superhuman guy. Venom is like
got a shitload of super strength and healing abilities.
Yeah, so he's greatly increased in size. He can shift, like he's basically a shapeshifter. He has like built-in camouflage and shit. He can be almost like invisible. And he also let's see. He can fly. For another thing. Yeah.
That's from New Continuity, right?
Yeah, that's fair. It is from New Thing. He got in contact with Null, and now he can make dragon wings.
Cheating. Well, mine is a deal with Mr. Mixopiddlick, and he shoot rockets out of his dick. There you go.
Yeah.
So, Bane with dick rockets versus flying Venom. Heat-seeking dick rockets. Boom.
I mean, I just think from a strength standpoint, I mean, I don't know if we have, like, a thing that can, like, if we're just talking, like, again, toe-to-toe, like, yeah, this is a little bit easier of a matchup, but I still think Venom would come out on top. Like, probably, with advanced planning, Bane might win, but I also think that, in this case, again, like, Venom's power set would be able to keep Bane on the back foot before he would able to figure out any of his weaknesses.
This is an interesting argument because with the use of Venom, Bane has a strength set that goes to a specific level, and I believe it's like 3 to 4 tons before he starts losing his mind.
Yes.
That's about how strong. But he does have the ability to juice himself far, far past that. But then he becomes just like this mindless, aggressive thing.
In which case, I think Venom would beat him.
Well, I'm just saying...
Venom would beat the Venom.
Yeah, I'm just saying depending on where they go and how far he wants to do. Again, I'm going to have to give the caveat. Just toe-to-toe walking up Venom and Bane, toe-to-toe, no prep. It would be an interesting fight. I believe they would go rounds and rounds with each other.
I mean, if like
ultimately, if he doesn't figure out Venom's weakness, ultimately I will have to say
I also think Venom's maneuverability would give him an edge over Bane as well, because like Bane has
similar maneuverability. He's superhuman reflexes and all the other stuff.
Right, but can he like basically like wall crawl and like run around and basically disappear into shadow? Yeah, like
okay.
I mean,
let me
Venom doesn't just have super strength; he can like basically wall crawl and everything else.
Yeah, let me jump in here for a quick second here, because Joel, to your point, Bane has actually invented a super serum that doesn't slow down his mental capacity at all. So I mean, to your point,
to a certain use. After a certain safe use, it doesn't slow down his mental capacity, but it does cause like a rage.
Yeah. Now, what I will say is, and this is against your point, and I want you to answer this. You've brought up multiple times that, you know, if Bane could figure out the weakness, but while you could make that argument with Joker, because Joker does have things like, you know, things that produce outrageous sound and whatnot, or fire or whatnot. Bane does not actually have the same access to those sorts of tools. So
he would have to
be able to capitalize?
Bane would have to be able to capitalize by location, you know, much like Spider-Man using the bell. You know, Bane doesn't have he doesn't use a weapon set. He's a barehanded prowler 90% of the time. He relies on his physical prowess, which is quite a bit. But the one, and I'm gonna unfortunately concede my point on this one, Bane's biggest weakness is his dependence on the Venom, which is a hose sticking out of the back of his head. And we have seen
Venom's just like, what's this thing do?
Multiple times in multiple incarnations, comics, movies, whatever. Somebody just cut the pipe, and next thing you know, Bane's like, he's not. No, it's not like in that horrible Batman Forever, where Bane just turned into this frail old man. That's not even remotely close. He would still be a monstrous hulk of a being. But yeah, his weakness is pretty apparent, and Venom would probably put 2 and 2 together. Eddie Brock is not smart, but the symbiote is. So the symbiote would be able to put 2 and 2 together.
Like I've said, bullet.
Right. Yeah. So we're gonna give this one to Venom.
I do think it would be a more balanced fight.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you, but I think Venom would come out on top on this one.
Yeah, unless they're fighting in like a bell tower and he's got an iron bar to ring the bell.
Yeah.
Like eventually Venom's gonna break. You know, or unless the author is like feeling merciful towards Bane. You know, we've always got the hand of God.
Okay,
I can do one more.
One more.
Harley Quinn, but I think everybody knows enough about Harley Quinn. She doesn't really need a point. Let's just get the scenario and we can argue, because again, I got 6 minutes.
Yeah, Ben, 60 seconds on the clock. Tell me why Shriek would beat Harley Quinn.
I think just by just virtue of Shriek's abilities, I think she has the edge over. Now she's not. It's not the same, like, you know, level of physical prowess, but she does have the ability to manipulate sound, and she is able to see the darkest side of someone's like emotions. So like she would be able to probably figure out Harley Quinn's weaknesses fairly quickly. Also, she has access to levitation, where she can fly, and she can do all kinds of destructive sound-based abilities.
Okay, that's good enough. 5-minute discussion. Joel, do you want to start us off as to why Harley Quinn is just better?
I would say that this is going to actually flip it a little bit. If Harley Quinn sees her and gets the idea in her head, she is going to start out the conversation with her hammer. So while Shriek's breathing in is when Harley's swinging. So she's not a planner. Like, Harley Quinn is not a planner. She is the exact opposite of a Batman villain. There are no machinations. It's just chaos. So, and she seems incredibly resilient, as well as rather okay with the shit she's done in the past. You say Shriek's got the ability to look at somebody and see their darkness inside of it. I don't think Harley thinks she has any darkness. Like, she just does to do, and she doesn't feel guilt ever.
But she can use her powers to manipulate people's emotions. So
Yeah,
like yes, like Harley Quinn's like an intelligent like psychiatrist person.
But she doesn't give a shit, emotionally speaking. Like Harley Quinn is like 100% good with whatever she does. Like she doesn't care because that's how far she's been twisted by the Joker.
But don't you think that her abilities would be able, her emotional state would be able to be twisted in some way to like make her act rashly or in some other way?
That's all she does is act rashly. Like
yes,
Harley
or
Quinn is
make mistakes.
personified. Yeah. Harley Quinn is why the real world invented Ritalin. Like, she is a complete and utter chaos. She's like impulse incarnate. Like, and I don't think she cares. So, Shriek's actual only attack would be her ability to like get off her like. She would have to scream at her. Yeah, she would have to do that. And we've seen with the Black Canary, we've seen Harley Quinn punch her in the face a number of times. Like, she would have to get.
But the Black Canary, she just shouts at you and incapacitates you.
The Black Canary is considered one of the best physical hand-to-hand fighters. And
Shriek is able to actually induce emotions with her sound ability, so she can make someone feel fear, hate, despair, whatever. So like even if like maybe Harley Quinn doesn't give a shit, I don't know, but like she is able to induce
the nature of her insanity, I would argue it would not affect her.
She also has symbiote powers.
Well, that's a totally different thing. Why are we doing these OP matchups? Be like, oh yeah, by the way, she's an invulnerable symbiote. You should have led with that and just been like, yeah, she's an invulnerable symbiote. What is this one? A crazy chick with a hammer. Like, you're leaving out like core pieces of this shit. You said she screamed. You didn't tell me she's Venom spawn. That's totally different.
She's buddies with Carnage.
Why are we even matching these people up? It's just like. You're giving me these matchups that are like, here's the people we're going to talk about. I talk about them, and then you have him being like, he's got a stick. The other guy's driving a tank. Well, who's going to win? I don't fucking know.
Okay, well, I'm going to make a very...
you with the baseball bat, and you're going to run me over with your Abrams tank. Go fuck
I'm going to make a very controversial ruling on this one, because while I say that, like, Kingpin and Penguin can both use their criminal empires, I don't think it's fair to bring Shriek's, like, you know, past, like, buddy relationship with Carnage into the mix on this one. Like, if we're not going to bring in, like, you know,
is a different thing. That's the thing, is she's a symbiote. Like, this is a wildly unbalanced power set. Harley Quinn is like, yeah, she's immune to like psychic attacks because she's nuts. Like, she's immune to, like, she's unpredictable and chaotic. Yeah, she's gonna hit first and ask questions later. But the other one's a fucking symbiote. Like, that's like, who's gonna win, the Green Lantern or Superman? Fucking Superman! Like, it's not even a question. It's like, who can win in a foot race? Usain Bolt or the Flash? I don't fucking know. There's totally different levels of skill.
Well, Joel, like, if Joker can beat Carnage, then why can't
Joker didn't beat Carnage? They just looked and said, you and I were made for each other, and they joined forces.
Okay, let me interject here, because the same thing could be said with Shriek's symbiote and Harley Quinn.
But wait a minute. Her power is a sonic scream and the symbiotes fall apart at loud noises? That's a universal weakness of it all. So she's going to be using this symbiote who every time she screams is like, fuck, I hate that. And she's just going to hang out? I believe there's like a plot hole here somewhere. So in my scenario, she's going to scream, the symbiote's going to be like, fuck you, I'm out, and then just go hang out with Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm tired of screaming.
I was reading about that. I was trying to figure out how how she was able to use symbiote powers, but also use her sonic abilities.
Yeah, that's literally like, I mean, again, you know, whatever the writer says is whatever the writer says, but...
Yeah, I'm giving this one to Harley Quinn.
Yeah, because in my scenario, the symbiote's like, stop shouting, bitch, and just jump ship.
Now, even though I'm giving this one to Harley Quinn, I will point out that if Ben had been very clever, he would have brought up the time that Batman had manipulated Harley Quinn's emotions. Keep in mind, Harley Quinn only appeared in the DC universe because of the Batman animated series. And there's that one episode of Batman the Animated Series, Mad Love, in which Harley Quinn actually captures the Bat and is going to kill him. And the only way that Batman is able to get out of the situation is by manipulating Harley Quinn's emotions with the Joker to get Joker to come over and
because really, like, all Shriek would have to be is like figure out how much in love that Shriek is with that Harley Quinn is with Joker, and be like, he's never going to love you, and then Harley Quinn's like, boo!
I mean, that also depends on like what continuity though, because
that's
at the
fair.
moment, Harley Quinn does not give a shit about Joker.
That's what I'm saying.
The motherfucker.
The current one right now, Harley doesn't give two shits about the
Yeah,
Joker.
Birds of Prey. Yeah.
Because
no, I mean,
OG Harley was filled with emotions.
Yeah.
But current Harley is just living her best life. Doesn't give a fuck.
No, she still has emotions, but those emotions are now for Poison Ivy. So, by the way, is currently like a man thing, Poison Ivy?
What?
Yeah, because Poison Ivy died and then came back.
A super hot redhead. That's how it goes. That is law. But that is... Alright, I do have to get off here, though, so, just, brief recap. We're going to be... I mean, I'm getting off. This is going to keep going, obviously. This episode will be uploaded by 7 o'clock on Friday. You can get it wherever you listen to podcasts. It will also be on the PEGWARMERS podcast, so look for that.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your conversation, and I will be watching to find out who kicks whose ass. All right.
See you later. Okay.
Now that the children are gone. No.
Well, okay. How about this? Because that takes care of Clayface and Sandman. That would not be a thing anymore.
Yeah. It's kind of a boring matchup anyway.
I mean, I guess it would depend on which Clayface we're talking about.
I don't know enough.
Yeah, ultimately speaking, yeah. I also think that probably takes care of Vulture and Man-Bat.
Oh, darn.
That one was kind of like a side thing anyways. And...
So I've still got Mysterio, Kraven, Lizard, Scorpia, and Rhino.
Okay, you can take Rhino out of the equation. And Joel won't be here for Mr. Freeze, who is going up against Electro, so you can take Electro off the list.
Okay.
Vic, dealer's choice. Do you want to go with Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, or Ra's al Ghul?
Go with Scarecrow.
All right. 60 seconds on the clock. I want you to tell me why Scarecrow beats Mysterio.
Give me this.
Okay.
Yo.
Oh, boy.
I want to remind everyone watching right now that if you are enjoying this, feel free to follow us on various social media, as well as also hello.
It's my brother.
Oh, hey, how's it going? Say hi to the internet. Yes, if you're enjoying what you're watching here today, feel free to follow us on various social media. We have a Twitter, we have Facebook, we have all that good stuff. But also don't forget to tune in to us every Wednesday and Monday for new episodes of both our D&D adventures as well as our various nerd rants on various media, comic books, movies, just anything we feel the need to talk about. We might also have some more content coming for you in the future, so be looking for that coming down the pipeline. Victor, back to you. Tell us why Scarecrow would beat Mysterio. 60 seconds on the clock, starting right now.
Just for the simple fact that Scarecrow's fear toxin is pretty potent, and Mysterio does have to breathe somehow. I don't know if he has a ventilator, but that fear toxin, once Mysterio's exposed to it, Mysterio's gonna slowly fall apart and descend into this rabbit hole of madness, and you're gonna see everything he fears: his failures, maybe a giant Spider-Man about to squish him like a bug. And as far as that, like you might see Scarecrow as like the Grim Reaper, if no, bringing in from the Injustice games how Scarecrow's character design looks in that game. It's a pretty menacing Scarecrow.
I agree. Go ahead and Ben, tell us why Mysterio beats Scarecrow. 60 seconds on the clock.
So
Starting right now.
I'm just going to point out that in terms of Mysterio's suit, he has his own air supply. It's not like a ventilated thing. He's basically like, he has his own air supply because he also has toxins and gases that he uses. He has he has gases that cause hypnosis, hallucinogenic compounds. He has something that can like cause paralysis, and even stuff that usually how Mysterio creates his illusions is creating that gas, which has a combination of hypnotic implements as well as hallucinogenic. Well, so while he isn't all about creating fear, he is able to create insane illusions that I feel like half the time the reason that Scarecrow gets fucked up is when he gets exposed to his own fear toxin and gets high on his own supply, so to speak. So like just from the fact that Mysterio, while not physically impressive, his suit itself is cut off from any sort of exterior air supply. Just from that standpoint. So, I mean, I think these are two very similar characters. They're all about sort of illusion, whereas Scarecrow is mostly based around fear. Mysterio is based around illusionist stuff and creating sort of special effects that confuse and debilitate people.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Doesn't Scarecrow have more than just the fear gas? Doesn't he also have like darts and various other things in which he can actually implement the fear toxin?
Yes, there is that. There is the glove, the glove with the 4 needles that he does use to inject people. And I definitely do see Scarecrow trying to find a way to pierce Mysterio's suit with either trying to create some sort of, if the gas didn't work, he would try to find a way to get behind Mysterio to inject himself with the needles, whether it could be by hand or by the darts, or even the fear bombs that he has.
So from another perspective, Mysterio, while he doesn't necessarily have superhuman physical abilities, he is able to engage with Spider-Man in hand-to-hand combat, which I don't know that Scarecrow usually engages in. Usually he's all about just fearing somebody up and then kind of like,
letting him rot. Yeah. Scarecrow isn't really known to be a physical combatant. He's more of a psychological one.
He's an ambush, he's like an ambush sort of guy, which I think in the case of Mysterio, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, like Mysterio, like I don't know that Scarecrow is necessarily intelligent enough to go straight to using his other arsenal. And Mysterio's suit allows him a lot more maneuverability and abilities than Scarecrow's.
I would argue that while yes, Scarecrow isn't a physical combatant, he is intelligent enough to create the serum himself.
Mm-hmm.
So it would make sense that he would be smart enough to guess that if Mysterio's suit doesn't allow any outside air to come in, he would target Mysterio's air supply or look for the air supply or try to inject him himself. He could possibly figure out that when he tries to inject Mysterio with the fear toxin using a glove, maybe he might come across the air supply tank that could be on Mysterio's suit, whether on his back under the cape or wherever Mysterio keeps it, and Scarecrow would try to target that so that his fear toxin can do all the dirty work.
But would he be able to do that before Mysterio was able to mess with his mind himself?
I think
Mysterio does rely.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, like, I think this fight mainly comes down to who would be better prepared in a faster way. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I think that we can both agree that, you know, they're basically the same in terms of many different aspects. While, you know, Mysterio does have a hand-to-hand sort of prowess to him, neither one of them are all about the hand-to-hand. You know,
Exactly.
They're both about the exact same thing. So I think it comes down to who would be ready faster.
I think by virtue of Mysterio's kit, he's not just all about the fear. He even has aspects of his suit that have some self-defense sort of capabilities to it. Even his like cape has some like basically like taser-like abilities where if you touch it, you get electrocuted. I think that in terms of his kit, Mysterio's overall abilities would be able to, I mean, not necessarily just from the initial get-go, would be able to neutralize Scarecrow initially, whereas he has a whole host of like also, you know, smoke-based abilities that he could deploy that would give the Scarecrow some problems.
Well, the way that I'm seeing it, it ultimately comes down to who's
quicker on the draw. Essentially, we're in kind of a standoff scenario.
Yeah, it is a standoff, but it would just be like who's fear toxin. I'm using fear toxin for both because they're both hallucinogenics. Whose toxin would affect the other person first? Because if I don't know if you guys consider the Arkham games to be canon as well, but in that version of Scarecrow, his mask does have a ventilator of like a painter's mask or a rebreather, so his air is being constantly filtered as well as Mysterio's. The way I see it, it ultimately comes down to who can inject the other one with their toxin so that they descend into madness.
And I think from that standpoint, due to he can even like, he's got boots with like magnetic coil springs that allow him to like leap crazy distances and like stick to walls and stuff for Mysterio, and be able to basically outmaneuver Scarecrow from that standpoint. Like, I feel like Mysterio's maneuverability and like the fact that his smoke screens aren't just about creating that fear. He uses those to like, you know, essentially like disappear and move around through that space to create. He can even like create illusions of himself as decoys. So like he could just like blast out a bunch of smoke, make 30 Mysterios, and be like, "Try to find me now, Scarecrow."
Yeah, Mysterio does have a lot of outside help in his arsenal via the projections.
Yeah.
Those like projection cubes that he throws.
Yeah.
And those would definitely give Scarecrow. It would take Scarecrow a little bit longer to find the real Mysterio, because he would be going from illusion to illusion.
Yeah.
But I still see it as a standstill. Is whoever injects who first.
The way I view it is like Scarecrow is essentially kind of like an ambush guy. So like he starts off a fight, he gets you with his fear toxin right at the beginning. Let's go. What happens when he doesn't get that off right at the beginning? Is he's just a man in a Scarecrow suit at that point. If he's not able to like get that fear toxin in you right at the beginning of the fight.
I think that this match is probably going to have to be called as a draw, because even though I can certainly see how Mysterio would be superior in terms of both his fighting prowess as well as his technical, you know, ability sort of thing, I ultimately don't know if Mysterio would be ready with all of that technical aspect. Because as you said
That's
before,
fair. Yeah.
Scarecrow is a very ambush kind of guy. He's a very like, you know, catch you by surprise sort of thing. So again, I'm having a hard time with this. I think it really would be like a standstill.
I mean, I feel like Mysterio is a guy that like all of a sudden like Scarecrow's like smoke bomb and like it's like smoke bomb, smoke cloud. You know what I mean? So like.
No, and as far as I know from Scarecrow's arsenal, it never really deviates from the needle glove to the fear darts and the fear bombs, and a tank of fear gas. That's usually what Scarecrow carries on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a difficult matchup to be sure. I think maybe
I concede a draw for this one. I think they're pretty even.
They're pretty evenly matched.
I think it's all about who gets the drop on him first. You know, like
yeah. But if they were to go 2 rounds, if we were to do a hand-to-hand one, I would see Mysterio winning because he does use, because of the magnets in his boots. He can replicate Spider-Man's abilities, and Scarecrow is just a guy with just doctor equipment.
Scary clouds.
Yeah. I mean, I do think that Crane is probably smart enough to notice, because like a lot of Quentin Beck's arsenal is very material in nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't necessarily have.
He's a special effects guy. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So I wonder if Crane would actually be able to see through a lot of the like illusions and whatnot, just given like Crane's level of like intelligence and whatnot. But I can't say for certain because, you know, there's no way to tell. Now, if we're going with the other Mysterio,
I mean, there's also like
a mutant.
I was gonna say there's also Mysterion and Francis Clume who have mutant abilities as well. So
yeah, that would throw a wrench in the whole fucking thing in that point. So I don't know. I'm gonna
even consider him.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to go with this one as just a draw, but like I'm gonna lean heavily towards Mysterio because you know, even though this one's more of a draw, it's still pretty clear that like if we really like ran the clock on this one, probably
if the conditions are
if
right,
we're talking like especially if we're talking about like mutant Mysterio who can teleport like.
Oh yeah, that's not even a.
then it's game up. GG Scarecrow. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's go to a slightly more even matchup in my opinion. And this one will be the last one. We'll end on this one. Ben, I haven't started with you very much, so I want you to give us the opening. 60 seconds on the clock. Tell us why Kraven the Hunter would beat Ra's al Ghul, starting right now.
So I think by virtue of Kraven's abilities, he has a lot of superhuman abilities in terms of sensing, in terms of like tracking, in terms of strength. You know, he can go toe-to-toe with Spidey. He gets his ass kicked by Spidey a lot, but also like a lot of times he goes toe-to-toe with Spider-Man. Like, so just based off physical prowess alone, I mean, there's that, and I know I fall back to that a lot because I'm doing a bunch of Spider-Man villains, and like, but like a lot of times, like, yes, I know that Ra's al Ghul has certain things that could kick the shit out of Kraven, but that's with a lot of planning. Now, in terms of Kraven's like straight up, like if we're talking drop these guys in an arena, I think Kraven's got the upper hand. He also knows how to like exploit a lot of weaknesses in people, knowledge of like pressure points that can sort of like debilitate or incapacitate more powerful opponents than him. He has access to a lot of different like poisons and tranquilizers and stuff, and also he has a bit of like some immortality going on where he can't die unless he defeats Spider-Man.
Okay, that's good. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, like, because I know he has died a lot in the past. So, I mean, I think it's more like resurrection than immortality.
He has unlife, where basically he can like die and come back. More like, you know, he's the same as Ra's. Like he can die and he can come back, but he doesn't have to go back to the Lazarus pool, he just comes back because he's like cursed essentially.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was I think it's more like less Vandal Savage immortality and more like, you know, resurrection sort of thing.
Yep.
Like I wanted to make that distinction clear.
That's fair.
Okay, so going over to Victor, tell us real quick, 60 seconds on the clock, why is Ra's al Ghul better than Kraven the Hunter? Go.
Well, Ra's al Ghul has lived for centuries. I want to say that he's been around since like the Dark Ages. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but his overuse of the Lazarus Pit makes him stronger at the cost of his sanity. He has and he also has one of the most dangerous clans in all of the world. The League of Assassins is renownedly known and feared by all. And also, while Kraven may be a good hunter, Ra's al Ghul is probably a better fighter. And if it wasn't for Ra's al Ghul, Batman would never be the Cape Crusader that he is today.
Okay. We're gonna go 5 minutes for open debate. Go at it, fellas.
All right. From my standpoint, I understand that Ra's al Ghul has a lot of like experience and stuff by this, but I have to ask: Is Ra's al Ghul coming by himself, or is he coming with a bunch of ninjas? Because we know in the comics, they're vulnerable. Like all these villains are vulnerable to the inverse ninja theory.
Yeah. For the purposes of this debate, I would say that it's Ra's al Ghul versus Kraven the Hunter, because if I'm going to bring in the League of Assassins, I also have to bring in like Kraven's sons and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Like I have to like, you know.
I was just bringing up the inverse ninja theory, where it seems like whenever Ra's al Ghul shows up with a bunch of ninjas, he gets his ass kicked. Whereas, like, if he comes by himself, he's doing fine. Anyway.
Well, I think that, like, in terms of, like, you know, League of Assassins and whatnot, like, I think that there are plenty of different instances, both throughout the comics and other media and whatnot, where Ra's al Ghul will maybe even, like, show up with the League, and then he'll be like, whoa, 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 whoa. None of you guys cut in on my action. I got this.
Fair.
You know what
fair.
I'm saying? Like,
yeah. That's how I see it too. I see if we were to do an arena, if we were to do a one-on-one arena style, Ra's would probably come with the arena,
so
just to have his followers watch him as he makes an example out of Kraven.
Yeah. So
Nissa, you fucking you shut the fuck up, Nissa. This is how the real Demon Head runs the League.
So I would question. I don't know about like Ra's al Ghul's like physical attributes, but I know that like Kraven has constantly shown to be more durable, far more durable than a normally human. Shrugging off blows that would severely injure or kill a normal human with almost little to no injury, due to his like special jungle herbs that he ingests, and also his potion also gives him like superhuman senses. So any like ninja tricks that Ra's al Ghul uses might be mitigated by that as well. And like I said, he's gone toe with supers, not just like, yes, like Batman is like a super person, but he is often considered just to be like a, super, like he's not superhuman, he's just like peak human. Whereas like Kraven the Hunter goes toe to toe against superhuman people on the regular. So he's also very gifted at as a tactician, and he's considered very athletic.
Well, I would argue that the Lazarus Pit, because of Raish's overuse of it, it has made him nearly immune to most toxins and paralyzing agents, and each time he does use it, it does increase his strength dramatically. So while he may not still be superhuman, he is way above average strength.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know in terms of strength how he would stack against Kraven, because to my knowledge of Kraven is that he does have a degree of superhuman strength. I believe he has the strength of a lion, who is considered to be king of the jungle, and that's what Kraven considers himself to be. But it's a gray area for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gray area in terms of strength, because both of them are above normal.
They both punch above their weight class. Whereas, all right,
but I would see it as ultimately coming down to skill. And while Kraven is a great combatant, he doesn't have the knowledge that Raish has, who's been fighting for centuries and training. The training for centuries, learning every kinds of martial art that there is, maybe even fathered some of them.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this is another one that's kind of almost a draw, unless you have a tiebreaker question, Brian.
Okay. Because here's how I see this going down. I see this where I don't think Ra's al Ghul is going to run and hide from Kraven. I don't think that would be the way it's going to be. So I don't think Kraven has to hunt.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But I also don't think that like Kraven's ability to come back is necessarily going to trump Ra's al Ghul's, because if they both are like, you know, agreeing to this duel, then Ra's is gonna have an ace up his sleeve because he knows the location of every Lazarus pit on Earth. He's probably gonna, you know, set the fight up in a spot where he can easily have access to a Lazarus pit.
Is there like a respawn timer on the Lazarus pit?
No, to my knowledge, it's instantaneous. Once you dip somebody in there, they come out.
They come out back into okay.
And I think it also does depend a little bit on how badly they're hurt, but I think it's also fairly rapid. Like, it's, you know, pretty instant.
Okay.
Now, what I will say is, because here's how I see it going down. Because Kraven doesn't have to hunt, and because Ra's al Ghul is not he's not gonna do that sort of thing. Like, he's gonna make a show of this sort of thing. So I see the two of them one-on-one in an arena, both of them having access to their regeneration powers if need be. But I see it happening where, like, Ra's al Ghul tosses Kraven a sword, and they just, like, they're going to duel. They're not going to kill each other, because I don't think that they need to. You know what I'm saying? It's
about the hunt for Kraven.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's more of an ego thing for Ra's.
Yeah, well, it's an ego thing for Kraven as well. Like, his whole thing is, like, at least in the Spider-Man comics, his whole thing is about proving that he's better than Spider-Man.
And the same goes for Ra's. He's always trying to prove himself to be this grand master of everything.
Right, so Kraven's wants to be the best hunter, Ra's wants to be the best grandmaster guy. So, like, what happens when one of them bests them? The other one's going to come back and go for it again. Like, their egos aren't going to be able to stand it. So, like...
what I will say, and I guess this is how we'll decide this one. Ben, 60 seconds on the clock. I want you to tell me about how Kraven the Hunter would beat the Bat.
Ooh.
Because we're going to settle this like, okay, if they can't best each other, then what they're going to do is they're going to trade heroes and see who's the better of the two when it comes to dealing with the respected heroes.
I think Kraven would all be about trying to set a trap. Like, I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, because Kraven's kind of like trying to trap his prey, hunt his prey. he would set some sort of bait that Batman wouldn't be able to resist, and then if they escape from that, he would basically like stalk his quarry until he finds the bat, you know, and then like once he figures out, oh, you're Bruce Wayne, haha, like Craven's like, I've caught you, and Craven would be done. Whereas Raj already knows who Bruce Wayne is, so I don't know what Raj's like sort of way to best the Ra's al Ghul's sort of like thing would be to best the bat. Like Craven would just be happy, be like, "Oh, you hide your identity. I'll find out your identity. Oh, you think you're the better detective? Here's this trap. Ah, you set my trap, and then I will hunt you. Find out your identity. I've won. I'm the greatest hunter. Goodbye."
Okay, so 60 seconds on the clock. Victor, tell me how Ra's al Ghul would best Spider-Man.
He would probably use every resource, every assassin that he has to stalk Spider-Man and see who he hangs out with, who he saves frequently, and he might end up using either Aunt May, Mary Jane. He might capture one of them to lure Spider-Man out and probably challenge Spider-Man to a one-on-one fight. That's how I see Ra's. He would ultimately use his resources to lure Spider-Man out, and if that fails, if that fails, he would do it himself. He would do it himself if his assassins are incompetent and they're not successful in luring Spider-Man out. I see Ra's taking it into his own hands.
So I think the difference between these two villains is like Craven wants to prove that he's just better than whoever he wants to best his quarry, however he sees that. But he's sportsmanlike. He's not always like an evil guy. He wants to prove he's the best hunter. Whereas Ra's, if he sets his sights on somebody, like the thing is, like we've seen what happens. Like Kingpin does this. He exposes Spider-Man and kills Aunt May. And we see what happens when Spider-Man takes the gloves off. Like Craven would be fine with like figuring out who Batman is and being like, haha, I'm better than you because I know who your identity is. Goodbye. But well, Ra's, if he decides he's going to like go after Spider-Man, he's going to fuck up and overstep, and like whereas like Spider-Man has this hair trigger where if you push him too far, he is going to destroy you. Like, I don't know that Ra's al Ghul would be able to defeat Spider-Man because Spider-Man would be like, why are these guys following me? And you just web them up everywhere. Eventually Ra's al Ghul would have to come out, and then when Ra's al Ghul eventually oversteps and hurts somebody that Spider-Man loves, Spider-Man is going to fill his lungs with web fluid. And it'll be game over, man.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Ra's is not afraid to go the extra mile.
Ra's will go the extra mile, make the mistake of poking the bear, or stepping into the spider's web, or poking the bear, so to speak, and getting... That's a good question. Ra's will fuck around and find out, and will not like the consequences of Spider-Man's getting poked. Whereas Craven, it's almost more of like a playful thing from a certain standpoint. He's not trying to kill Spider-Man. He's just trying to best him. I
honestly don't know if Ra's would actually resort to like wanting to kill Aunt May or Mary Jane or fucking whoever. Like, because Ra's very rarely goes after like supplementals, you know, like, you know, it's not like he ever goes after Batman by going after Robin. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's very rare that he, like, usually it's very...
He'll use Talia, though.
Yeah. I mean, like, he uses Talia, sure, but, like, that's just another tool at his disposal. It's not so much that he... Because he's very laser-focused on his target, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he's going after, say, Damian Wayne, you know what I'm saying? Then he's going to go after Damian Wayne. He's not going to take down the other Titans. He's going to go for Damian Wayne.
But would... I don't know that Ra's al Ghul would be able to beat a lot of Spider-Man's weaknesses. Like, I think...
I don't know. That would be a difficult question.
Because, like, from that standpoint, like, Spider-Man's main weakness is his, like, relationships with, like, people like Aunt May, people like, you know, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy. Like, those are Spider-Man's weaknesses. Spider-Man proves time and again that he can punch it well above his weight class. Like, he's considered a street-level, like, hero, but, like, he's got the strength.
Back a lot.
Like, he had, but that's because he's holding back a lot of the time. And he's trying to sort of, like, maintain his normal life. But, like, when Spider-Man comes to play, and he's got the strength and abilities to, like, hang with the Avengers. Like, I don't know, like, I mean, from one standpoint, I don't think Kraven would be considered, like, a threat to Batman, because Kraven's not going around doing wanton violence. He's just trying to prove that he's better than this hero. Whereas, like, Batman doesn't care. So, like, Kraven bests him, he's like, now what? Like, Kraven doesn't necessarily... I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but, like, Kraven's not, like, going around killing people or, like, driving people insane or causing wanton mayhem in Gotham City. He's just like, Batman, come fight me. Prove to me who is the better hunter. And while as, like, Ra's al Ghul, if he puts Spider-Man in his sights, he's going to fight Spider-Man, and I think Spider-Man has the abilities to just basically, like, kick Ra's al Ghul's teeth in. Like, yes, he'll get back to his Lazarus pit and be okay, but, like, he's not the same enemy as Batman is. Like, he's going to see through Ra's al Ghul's, like, levels of things and just, like, punch through all that.
Well, Spider-Man's canonical biggest weakness is, of course, his personal life. Like,
yes.
That is the thing that hampers him the most. But
which Ra's al Ghul would not hesitate to exploit, I don't think.
No, he certainly wouldn't hesitate to use any tool at his advantage. But I think the other big weakness, because one of Spider-Man's greatest strengths is easily his spider sense. It's a type of precognition in canon for him. Like, you know, he can technically see the future. But canonically, he actually has to react to it, though. Because while the spider sense does give him that sense of danger, he also has to actually have the physical ability to react to it, which is sometimes what trips him up the most. So I wonder if Ra's al Ghul would be able to, you know, nullify that spidey sense in a way in which, whether or not it's a toxin or whether it's, say, for example, like, because there have been characters who have just been too fast for Spidey. And we know that, like, Ra's al Ghul is able to go toe-to-toe with the Bat.
Mysterio has toxins that can nullify Spidey's spider sense.
Yeah.
But that doesn't... But Mysterio still gets beaten, regardless of if he nullifies it.
Certainly.
Because Spider-Man has Spider Foo, or whatever the heck they call it nowadays.
Yeah.
Way of the Spider.
Way of the Spider. Yeah, there we go.
I'm ultimately going to probably give this one to Kraven the Hunter. I do think that they're very well matched, but I think, Ben, you might have made a better argument for why Kraven is going to, like, win this contest sort of thing. So I'm going to give it to you on that basis. And we're going to kind of, like, leave it there.
What's our tally?
Let's see here.
Not in terms of personal, in terms of Spidey versus Bats. Because that was the whole, what led to this whole argument was, if, I know, Victor, you're aware, but for our listeners, our whole argument was based off of, if you plucked the Batman from Gotham City and you took Spider-Man from New York City and you switched them, who would win? And my stance was that Spidey would wipe the floor with the whole Rogues Gallery, whereas Batman would inevitably probably get his ass kicked. Because, you know, I mean,
I don't think we've answered
out.
that question here today.
We have not.
As far as our tally is concerned, if I'm crossing out any of the draws and whatnot, technically the Marvel side has won. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 2. 5 to 2.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that I do think that there were a number of different matches on the DC side that might have evened that out a little bit more. Like, I was really looking forward to Mr. Freeze versus Electro, because honestly, I thought Mr. Freeze...
that would have
been elemental sort of enemies, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Marvel mostly has. Marvel mostly has elemental enemies.
Yeah.
We're talking specifically Spider-Man's Rogue Gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also thought that Killer Croc versus Lizard would have been a very
I was looking forward to that one. Unfortunately, Joel had to step out, but I'm hoping that maybe we can continue this argument.
Maybe we revisit this, finish out the Rogues Gallery, and then finish out that episode with answering the question.
Well, this week, I do believe, rather than our normal D&D session this Wednesday, we're actually going to have another Talk Nerdy to us. In which case, Ben, how do you feel about Pokemon Smasher Pass?
I mean, I said I was okay with it. I don't know if you'll get Joel on board.
Probably not, but at the same time, I don't know. I kind of feel like just some, something fun, something light. Something
do it anyway.
I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see. And if you want to see what we're gonna do this Wednesday, tune in to Nerds of Legend, 4:30 normal time. We're gonna be doing our Talk Nerdy to Us episode. Maybe we'll do some Pokemon Smasher Pass. Maybe it'll be something different. Maybe we'll do some other sort of nerdy topics or whatnot. But you never know, so you'll have to tune in and find out. Meanwhile, Ben, I hear that Victor here, not super into the tabletop gaming community. Do you know anywhere where he might be able to, I don't know, say get some dice to start him off on his adventure down that path?
Well, I don't know, Brian, but I know of this place called Tabletop Loot, where I've been able to feed my inner dice goblin, and he has been assuaged at least a month at a time to prevent me from wiping out my bank account buying more dice. So if you're looking to avoid that dice goblin and sort of placate him, then the place to go is Tabletop Loot.
Tabletop Loot? Isn't that place that you can pay $25 a month, and before the 20th of every month they'll send you the 4 different sets of dice every month straight to your door with no hidden fees or any kind of bullshittery or whatnot? Isn't that the place where you get all these really cool and interesting dice, and you can also go to their website to put in the code NOL15 for 15% off?
That's right, Brian. And if you don't think that, and even if you do, if you don't go for the monthly dice subscription, you can use that code that Brian gave you to get a discount of 15% on anything else in the store.
You said they send out 4 sets of dice?
4 sets of
4
dice.
sets of dice.
A month.
Every month.
That is 4 sets of dice that I do not have.
And they're beautiful.
Yeah. They are absolutely wonderful. I, of course, have my little Crown Royal bag that I'm currently filling up. This particular Crown Royal bag has all the Tabletop Loot dice that they have sent me this year so far, and I mean, I'm always very satisfied with both their quality as well as their price. Again, that's $25 a month. Order before the 20th of each month, and they will send out a minimum of 4 sets of dice every month. Round about in between, what is it? Usually I get mine
the 15th to the 20th. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Tabletop Loot.
All right, and again, thanks again, Victor, for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
So maybe it sounds like we're gonna have to finish out this little debate here. Maybe finish out our tier list a little bit more. And again, Victor, what's your podcast and where can they find you?
Well, our Instagram page is down, but it will be up shortly. You can find us at PEGWARMERS Podcast. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Music, Instagram, or if you want, you could look for me on Instagram as well. Instagram, Twitter at Exia_00Riser. I'm sure these guys will have their links down, but yeah, my name is Victor from the PEGWARMERS, and I look forward to working again with Nerds of Legend.
Yeah. And is it PEGWARMERS or the PEGWARMERS? Because when I was looking for you guys, I saw there was like two things. Just to be sure.
No, the PEGWARMERS.
The PEGWARMERS. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure. So search for the PEGWARMERS podcast, and you'll find Victor's stuff. Again, thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you again on Wednesday for Talk Nerdy to Me. And we'll see you guys in a couple days. Bye-bye.
Take care.